Okay, I'll do a quick video tour of what I've been working on and why it's taken so long. So the primary idea was as I'm mounting a roof basket or roof rack as they're called on my car, and I'm going to mount front, side, and rear lights on that roof rack. So I needed to put these switches in to control that roof rack. At the same time, since I was pulling out the dash and going to be putting some switches in there, I always wanted manual winch controls from inside the cabin, and I do have fog lights, so I put the fog lights, which are actually called driving lights, I put the fog lights on here rather than they were on the other side of the dash. So I bought this group of switches. I noticed that near the end of the purchase that I had space for one more switch, and it kind of looked stupid having a blank spot there, so I got an interior light switch, which is that one right there, which can turn on my interior lights. They're already on right now, so that's why that's not making the difference. The door is open. So that was the plan. And then what happened is I had to remove the lighter socket and ashtray. That's what was there. So then what I did is I put the lighter socket, not very good light here, sorry. I put the lighter socket and a USB charger in the side here with a switch. And that's a hot switch, always hot. So that way I can charge my phone even when I've got the vehicle locked up and that sort of thing. And then you can, so that's the USB. You can just see it come on there. So that's the USB, and then a regular 12-volt socket. And these are switched right here, on and off. The reason there's an on and off switch is because the USB, if left to its own devices, being on all the time, would probably just draw a little tiny bit of current to kill my battery slowly over time. So that way I don't have to worry about that. So this took a long time because I had a lot of cleanup to do. A lot of cleanup because I have a compressor under the seat. And when this was installed by the same people who did the locker install, they didn't really pay attention when they were drilling or how they hooked up. They tapped into the lines under the dash in a hacky way I didn't like, so I had to go under the dash and do some cleanup. Also, I had to remove the whole thing because when they were putting it down, they probably just saw where it would fit nicely under the driver's seat, and then just screwed it straight through. And they never looked in the bottom of the car to see what they were doing, or they never looked under the carpet. Turns out that they pinched speaker wires, which were running from the console around and across, and pinched cabin wires, interior light wires. So I had to lift that all up, pull it back, put it back down. Also, I didn't like the compressor running off of the console or the dash wiring. It was blowing fuses because it pulls about 14 amps, and everything else inside the car runs off the wire that they had tapped into. It was I think it was a 40 or 60 amp run. So, but everything in the car was running off that 60 amp, and then this would kick on with another 14 amps, and then would pop that fuse. So that sucked. So that now, what I did is I got a speaker, an amp wiring kit. So this is about 12 gauge. I think it's actually 11 gauge, but it's a metric gauge. And then that goes straight to the battery. The reason I've left it a little bit messy here is because I plan on running a 500 watt inverter over the side in that hole and then up the back of the car. So I want the 500 watt inverter is going to need about, I think it's rated at 40 amps. So that's why I needed that heavy wiring, and then that's going to come down and hook into this, and then continue running to the inverter. So that had to be cleaned up. Also, under the dash, sorry you can't see very well, but under the dash they'd hacked into that harness. Let me just show you. That harness. I don't know if you can see my repair work here, but yeah, I don't have it. I had to pull all the wires out of here and clean up. So when they done it, they'd hacked into the wires, and I had to remove the hacks. There's still one hack there. You can see where the tape is, but you can see my shrink wrap where I've cleaned up the hacks. So now anything that was running off the high current wires, the green and white one there, is now running to the battery, and the only one that I've left in there is just an activator to let me know when the vehicle's running. I can run some other relay. So then what I did is I added a hot lead, that 3-into-1 right there. That goes to my other fuse box, and I wired it into an unused fuse slot from the original car, and now that is got a 15 amp fuse, and that comes into here and gives me 4 more fuses, so I can run the lighter sockets are all individually fused, and then I also got my fog lights running off of that too. And the black wire on the back there, you can see that one. Where's my finger? That one there is for the ARB controls. That relay hanging there is for the fog lights. Still some cleaning up that could be done, but it's not necessary. The actual wiring is nice and clean, just not very presentable. And I'm just going to stuff it up there and zip tie it into good places so it's nice and high in case I get flooded with water again. I've got flooded in here before up to my seat, so I got to get that as high as possible. Also, too, what another reason is it took some time is all the wires for the amps, and my amplifier in the back, and my CB cable and RCAs run down. Let me see. They pop down into the carpet right there, and they are all running under the carpet here. But what I did was I pulled the whole carpet up, and so I've got the RCAs running there, the power running there, and then the CB antenna goes all the way across and runs right up the side of the car, so it doesn't cause any. It's as far away as possible from the amplifier wires. The CB antenna is there, and then what I did was I put a. Let me turn around here. There's no seats in the car, so what I did was I put a quick disconnect on the CB on the amplifier now. So this is a quick disconnect. So I want to pull the if I want to pull the amplifier out, I simply pull that apart. That side's connected into the amp. Oh, sorry. This is the car wire in the blue. That is connected to the amp, all one piece. So you pull that apart. You pull your RCAs, throw it on top of the amp, and now you can take the subwoofer out of the car. So there's no you don't have to undo these little screws or anything like that. You can very quickly pull the amplifier, the subwoofer out of the car in case you're going to be on a really muddy trip that's really rainy or something like that. And you're worried about your electronics. And to plug it all back in, you just take your, working with one hand, and there you go. So that is a Vibe fast plug. I think got it. Fast plug, yeah, that's it. Vibe fast plug. And then one of the problems is I got too much RCA, but I'm gonna cap these off at the same length as this power cable. But then I thought, if I ever get a full range speaker box, I can put it on the roof or something like that. So I want enough RCA cable to stick it up onto the roof rack so I can drive around blasting music like a real pain in the ass. So only other things I did was I changed the CB cable so to be a cable that rejects more noise and stuff like that. So I just got to check. I'm still having CB problems. I think what I did is I ran the CB poorly connected, and I think I've burned out its output, its transmit. I'm only transmitting at 2 watts. I can legally transmit at 4. I've checked all the programming of it, so I think it's actually the amplifier, so I need to change that out. Only a tiny other thing, put a light inside the glove box. Isn't that nice? And I still got my hula dancer, even though she's a pain in the butt. Okay, so, let's just show what that looks like. So when you turn on the car, all the lights light up. I like it like that. It just gives a nice aesthetic look, even though those lights really should only come on when the switch is able to activate. But so what it is, interior lights, rear lights, side lights, roof lights, fog lights, which are actually connected right now. That looks nice. Winch, this is to activate the winch, so which pulls in your plus from the solenoid and then runs it back out through here. So if I want to winch out or winch in. The winch right now is actually, I run power isolator, which basically is kept turned off, so you can't turn the winch on unless you put the key in the isolator. So basically I throw the key in the isolator when I'm going off-road, and day-to-day driving I leave the key out of it. That way there's no power going to the solenoid, so you can't activate the solenoid. So that's about it. That red wire on the floor is for the rear cigarette lighter. Lots of toys and switches inside here. Gotta throw my new seats in. They're sitting right over there on the floor, ready to go in. All right, so thanks for watching. Oh, her dress is falling apart. She's not going to be a hula dancer soon. She's going to be a strip dancer if she keeps on losing her dress.